To start with is, again, go back to the initial question, the objective. Why do I need this piece of software? Do I have something in my tech stack that already does part of Elements and I need to complement it? Is it a lack of team members that I need to cover by using software, automating some processes to release some time back to the short-staffed situation I have in my property, so then it allows human interaction with the guest? Are the guest pain points being language barriers and so on, that I can drive better communication through a multilingual messaging app? The ROI and the monetary ROI will come at the end with the incremental sales, because then you've got time to drive those incremental sales instead of rushing your service constantly. So I think it all depends on the type of software. There are software which are clear and monetary positive ROI impacts. Others, I think, is a blend. And then last, maybe an operational efficiency that you want to drive.
What's up, hospitality? If you are new here, I'm Mauricio Schulering. You're listening to the Schulering Hub, a hospitality podcast aimed at helping the independent hotelier to navigate through the complexities of our industry. Today we're chatting to Custodio Barreiros, a hospitality consultant from EIP Management, specializing in bridging the gap between hotel technology and operational excellence. We discuss the process and emotions behind technology purchase and implementation.
Do you know what it is? It's not ego, it's fear, in my opinion. I think there is a fear. We're working in an industry with the tightest of budgets. So therefore, you've got more of a fear of making a decision than actually an ego of making a decision. Because obviously, if you make the decision, if it's the right one, you're the hero. If you make the wrong decision, you are going to be the target by everyone, not just the owners and the management companies, including your own staff.
If you like what you produce, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and share this episode with your colleagues. Now it's time to learn something new with Schulering today. Let's go to the chat. Hello, Schulering. Welcome back to another episode of the Schulering Hub podcast, where we talk hospitality. Today, for the next 45 minutes, you'll be learning about technology purchase, installation, and beyond. What's beyond? We're gonna figure it out. And I need to bring someone with authority to talk about these things. So I got someone who has experienced it. Acre, Grand Hotels, Hilton. He's become a self-employed as consulting, then worked for Amadeus, and now is the owner of EIP Management. Custodio Barreiros, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm speechless already with that introduction. I think EIP NGTs, to get a shout out like that in a channel like this, I truly appreciate it. Hats off to you for everything you've been achieving. Thank you.
Thank you for this. Thank you very much, Custodio. We invite people here that can share knowledge and can help our audience to learn something new. And technology purchase, it is kind of a delicate point. It's not easy. It's complicated. Some hoteliers get anxious just to hear about it. And it's good that we have someone like you that been on both sides, at the purchase side and the selling side, and in the helping side here to really navigate from these anxious points and the selling points and try to navigate our audience to how to purchase technology. We are in the right time to do that. So thank you very much for being here. But Custodio, here in our community, before we start all our education, we start with the human first. We want to hear who you are and how you got where you are now.
So, son of Portuguese immigrants in the UK, I ended up in the hospitality industry, nearly being born inside a hotel. Both my parents were hoteliers in very early 70s, so I'm not going to say my age, but some of your guests know me very well from the past, so they'll possibly come out and comment on it, how they were feeling. But it's very much in the DNA. I was brought up in the back of house of hotels, all the way from the Churchill Hotel or to the lanes where I ended up working with my father's part of his team. It's been a roller coaster in a good way. Growing up in a multicultural environment, from an operational side, spending my youth, trying to earn my pocket money through working for my father, then of course moving on to groups that you mentioned already. And for the last decade, very much on a tech side provider, a bit of a consultant, as well as obviously working for companies like Amadeus and Birch Street Systems. Of course, operations is in the heart. I think us hoteliers are heart and hospitality heart. You can't walk into a property without looking and admiring the skill set of the person serving you or how your bed is made. We either the best or the worst customers or guests to the industry. But that's me in a nutshell. For the last 18 months, as you rightly said, I started my own company, IPNGT. Yes, it does stand for management. It does stand for everything is possible. We'll go through in more detail in that, of course, as we go through our chat. Very much to help the industry. From my point of view as a buyer as well as a seller was, there used to be a gap. Everyone in our industry talks about the wonderful guest experience, the guest journey. I like to think about the employee journey as well. I think one can't go in without the other. The groups you mentioned there as well, there is the ones that really touched my purse of my heartstrings and everything else was the private independent groups. And I think for that I came in to this, as I moved to Austria, I took this jump and leap of faith as such to help those groups ideally and work with the bigger brands, because some of them do have obviously the franchises and everything else, but they're very much lost. And I think there is there is a true need for us to think about the humans. As you mentioned at the beginning, this is about the human. Hospitality, we can bring all the wonderful tech, and there's so much happening in our industry from that we can buy, sell, resell, use it. I think without the humans, it will not work. No matter how much AI and labels we can put on things nowadays, there is also a real heartbeat at the essence of everything we do. So the consultancy is very much to drive that challenge. Bring both together, maximize the technology to really drive a human touch in hospitality. I think there is a lot of technology that is also lost in our industry. How can we make it better? And that's what I'm doing right now, or trying to do, let's put it that way. And because as soon as there's humans involved, let's be honest, it's more challenging than even addressing the pet at times. And I said this is one of those humans, hand on heart.
I love that. And I love to say using technology to humanize the industry. It's beautifully said. And it's true, right? When you get humans in the way, normally when it comes to technology and comes to purchase, I've noticed that many GMs have a little bit of a ego problem where they think that they need to make the decisions. They don't want to look for help to make decisions. And I do believe that having consultants with the whole experience, they can see the full picture of the real puzzle that is hotel tech. It's very much helpful. Have you met any GMs that have that ego problem?
I don't call it ego. Do you know what it is? It's not ego, it's fear, in my opinion. I think there is a fear. We're working in an industry with the tightest of budgets. So therefore, you've got more of a fear of making a decision than actually an ego of making a decision. Because also, if you make the decision, if it's the right one, you're the hero. You make the wrong decision, you are going to be the target by everyone, not just the owners and the management companies, including your own staff. So it's more of a fear than an ego. And I'm protecting general managers here. I'm going to be the good guy and bad guy on this possibly. I don't know. I've got many friends of GM, so I'm going to go by the good guy today. And I think that even in my days when I was in operations was the fact that we always are very fearful and very due diligent. What's the impact? It's not just a budget element. Is it the right technology, or is it the one that is going to be adopted? Because the last thing you want is you buy a technology nowadays, you pay a yearly subscription. Is it going to be used at the end of the year? Has it driven the results, objectives, ROI that you want it to? We work in an industry that gets, how can we say, scanned, filtered to the bottom line. Forget about any ROI. It's always, what's the bottom line? What am I going to make out of it? What am I going to save? 20 years ago was, how many staff can I get rid of? Can I save that? Nowadays is, can I help the staff that I don't have? How can I deliver that service? So this conversation has changed straight away. The landscape keeps on changing. The guest has changed. Post-pandemic, the employee has changed of our industry. So those general managers are in fear of pleasing everyone. It's a bit like choosing a menu for a banquet. You're never going to please everyone, are you? But you're going to hope that at least 75 to 90%, that's a really good ratio that everyone will like your food. And then, of course, you've got one of them sitting at a table like me who's 100% plant-based. But no, we have a vegan. And that kind of throws the ball out of the equation straight away. So I think they're more in fear than anything else, the general managers, or the decision-making process. And we have to look at the pressures they're under. An owner, from an independent point of view, a management company, from a franchise, or a brand. All the guidelines they have to follow. And let's be honest, you and I come from similar backgrounds, Brazilian, Portuguese on the call here. It's always about what your neighbor has, right? If it has a 20 meter swimming pool, I'm having 25. You have a BMW, I have a Mercedes. Hotel industry could not be more the same. And I think the copycat syndrome of our industry needs to stop, personally speaking. The hotels where you work, Mauricio, are different than the hotels where I work. So why should we buy the same software? Maybe it will work, but how about take the due diligence research, bring in someone here, a consultant, or even do it internally yourself to know that. So then that fear element then gets taken away and you make the right decision, personally speaking.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying this show and if you are learning something new today, please consider following the show, subscribe to our channel, or leave us a review. It helps us to help more people through the podcast, and it would mean the world to us. Thank you for listening, and we're back on the chat. Yeah, I love that. So let's delve into that fear then. Let's ask some questions here that we can educate our audience and get like how technology purchase could happen and installation and the beyond process. And let's get that and try to minimize that fear and help our audience out there to buy the best solution for them. But is there such a thing as the most cost-effective technology solution for an independent hotel?
I say yes and no. I'll say yes for a reason. Do you know what you're buying? Do you know what you want to buy it for? What objectives you want to achieve? Are you just copycatting the hotel next door? That's big brand has been told it needs that technology. Because how many branded hotels are using technology or being forced to use technology that may actually not be specific to their region, their locale, their employees, their guests, and everything else, but just because the brand says so, they're using it. And then you have this kind of negative domino effect that the local hotel, the independents, buy it. I think the independents, be aware of your competition, of your local hotels from the big brands, but what are you trying to deliver as that property? Being the independent in Budapest, in Vienna, in Lisbon, Brasilia, wherever it may be, know exactly what you want to do. So by then, you then know, okay, right, I want to deliver this. This is the guest experience, this is the back of house experience, this is the staff software that I need. Then go out in the marketplace. There is a lot of old and new technology. What is it going to come in that works with my current tech stack, that doesn't upset the infrastructure, and has a positive effect? Will always be a disruption or a change. The problem being is as soon as you use those two words, change or change management and disruption, it's negative. But everyone wants to drive a Tesla, which is a disruption to the automobile industry. So why is it negative? The same when the Ferrari went from tractors to cars. Why is it negative? So therefore, we need to look at it in positive ways. By addressing those, you then start stripping off layers. And don't try to do it all at once. The last thing any hotel needs is, I'm going to be doing this. And suddenly every department's got to jump and change and high and low seasons and everything else. Do it by stages. We want a guest journey in stages from research a hotel, choose the right rate, right amenities, check in, check out, and so on. So why are we doing everything at once with the other processes? I think sometimes this common sense here should prevail, personally. Don't get me wrong, I've had general managers, I've had management companies I work for, literally some of them physically pushing back and saying, we're doing this, all of this now because we have 2 weeks to do this. It's not the case. Rushing is the worst thing it does. If you rush a souffle, you're going to get a dollop of something inside the pot. So why would you do that to your own guests with everything else? And I think know the impacts of the different stages. Then, of course, build a business case, build an ROI. And an ROI shouldn't just be about dollars, euros, GBP signs. Is it operational efficiency? Am I making my staff happier? The truth is, that should be taken into consideration. The reason for that is simple. Happy staff member will smile to a guest. That's contagious. That's a pleasant experience. So those are those kind of things I think we should be looking at. From the independent and cost-effective point of view is, know your budgets. Don't overstretch yourself. Work with your suppliers. A point that you and I discussed in a different conversation was about the hidden costs. This is where tech providers and suppliers are going to hate me. Be transparent. There should not be any hidden cost from the moment you start pitching a product to sale. And give options. I don't know your properties, So therefore, as my client, the hotel, should give you all the information so that you can choose accordingly and help you build a business case internally. Become part of your team, of your stakeholder team, because an online training in some places may be suitable, but has anyone ever seen a guest room attendant sit at a desk, learn the software? So if we're going to put software in their environment, shouldn't the person be in their environment teaching them to use that software? I don't know. These are questions I ask myself, and I'm going to say this because I know for a fact I have a 70 plus, nearly 80-year-old father. He was in operations all his life. If I give him a software behind the desktop, he'll go out the window. If I give him a software that he can use in his day-to-day when he was working, they worked, they delivered. And I think, and I'm going to be biased, I am. Of course, Amadeus Hospitality, previously Amtech, if anyone is listening from the old team, we were successful for a reason. We went into the environment of the end user. Because let's be honest, software is bought by a very small number of people at the top of the pyramid. The end users, all the guys at the bottom in the back of house, they're the ones that are going to be using this. So we need to think about, we sell up here, but we train down here. So how can we bring those together? That's not just the responsibility of a hotel, it's the responsibility of a provider to learn that hotel in that locale. And that for me is very important. And that becomes an affordability because then you explain, okay, you need this software, this is what you need. And by the way, tech suppliers, don't try to sell everything. Listen to your hoteliers. You may not need everything in your hotel, so why am I trying to push this out to meet quota? The quota will come with a relationship that endures because you'll refer me to a next door neighbor who has a hotel, to a partner, to wherever it may be, if I sell you the right stuff. If I sell you a sour grape, you're not going to want to buy more wine from me, let's be honest.
100%. Well, now, and thank you for putting all it together. Now, one thing that struck me when you're speaking was you spoke about knowing why you are buying it, right? And I've seen, as you just said, sometimes they're just buying because they saw somewhere, because the neighbor is buying and they don't want to sit behind, they don't want to be laughed at or whatever it is. But then you get the motivation, okay, I need to buy that. How can they delve into that reason and really understand, do I need this technology right now?
Again, is bringing in your stakeholders, like I mentioned, the users within your own group. Look, the good thing about our industry, the hospitality industry, because I don't believe tech is the industry there, is hospitality is the industry. We're a small industry, we all speak, we all know each other, being where you and I are sitting at the moment, from Graz, myself in Austria, to yourself in the Czech Republic, to friends of ours who are in Germany, as we discovered the other day, and we just spoke about a friend of ours in the Netherlands. We all know each other with 4 different countries. It's the same with our industry. Speak to the users of that software that you intend to buy. Is it really going to deliver your objectives? Is what it says on the tin what's inside the tin? I think that's what we need to be asking as buyers. Then the second of all is, software, like everything else, is the after-sale process. Is it there to support you? Our industry is not a static industry. It's not something that operates 9 till 5. Do we know about everything about this product? Has it delivered, not delivered? If it hasn't, has it been tested? Am I the one testing it as a hotelier? Because that will impact the sale and any change management that will take place. That also impact on how the users will see it. Or am I contributing to a development process of a new software company? Because at the end of the day, we should welcome new developers into our industry. And if we can help them, brilliant. Do I have that capacity though? Does my hotel have that capacity or not? That's the other question. Because it's great to bring in new team members and everything else is the same with a new software tool. Am I able to help it get along? And I think it's doing a very due diligent tool. I spoke to a friend of mine. He runs a beautiful group, IT-wise, for a safari in South Africa. And one of the things he does, he has an evaluation of every provider. Not a comparison, not a check matrix. You do this, I do that. That's the worst, personally speaking. Do you do what I'm asking for? Does this mean this? How easy is it for someone to click to report a broken light bulb? 2 clicks, 10 clicks, what it is. The day-to-day usage element, the reporting element for one property, above property, the needs, the data, the support team, do they speak hospitality? I say this for a reason. I worked in a project not too long ago and I called the support desk for another supplier and I was asked, what operators And it's those kind of things that it's not the person who answers the call's fault. That's the thing. We, as a reaction to human beings, you don't know what opera is? No. Has that person been trained to do so? So that's the other thing, is we need to ensure that all the elements and touch points, being human, non-human, interactions need to be correct. And until then is when we then buy, okay, this actually meets because so-and-so used it, someone I can trust, or I went and saw it, operate it. We love to get into each other's hotels, let's be honest. Human beings are nosy. Hoteliers are nosier. So let's go and check a hotel that's using that software. It's an excuse to go in and have a coffee somewhere else instead of being hassled on the telephone by us, let's be honest.
That's awesome. And like another element of fear that you just mentioned before is tight budget, right? Like you have a tight budget. Independent hoteliers, that's in our audience here, they normally have a tight budget and it's hard to play around.
Yes.
So are there any financial options available to technology purchases in Europe that can decrease that fear level?
I think not just Europe. I think we should be looking at the industry overall. First of all, budgets, suppliers also need to be more creative. Let's address that point first. Many suppliers, many partners in the industry, whatever offering they have, whatever rates they offer, they tend to offer it. What you pay in the US, you pay in the Czech, you pay in Austria, you pay in Vienna. Hold on a minute. Has anyone heard of the famous Big Mac index, where a Big Mac is priced differently across the world, and that's why it's such a successful food? And I'm plant-based and I don't eat them, but I know that's one of the things it does. So how can we address that in our industry? We appreciate independents are not like a Hilton's and Marriott's, bigger groups who can say, okay, 3,000 plus properties will take that software. What do you give me? It's a bit like room nights. I give you 10,000, you give me a better rate. Give you one, yeah, let's check availability. However, without the independent, you lose a big group because as a supplier, you need to work with independents. You learn so much from the industry, the uniqueness, the quirkiness. So let's address those pricing specifics for the independent market that we should be doing. And the local association should be working harder, group independents together, because I'll drive pricing as well. Because if an independent hotel works with a local association, a local tourist board, why can't software be done that way? Why can't a box of light bulbs be bought via a consortium, help the market, help tourism? Now the funding. I know in Europe you've got European Union funding. You can obviously look in the EU funding pages and different elements and look at with the local governments. Because for every local government there is different specifics. I think at the moment, EU is talking a bit about sustainability and how the impact of tourism, ESG, the environmental, social governance impacts as well. Digitalization of tourism is taking a big place. I think there is a grant that's going to be open very soon in August, 21st, 22nd, within this week. But there are pages. I was actually part of a research I did recently for someone who's looking at a new project in Portugal. We looked at the European Union funding page. In there, you can get regular updates. You don't just get what the funds are, but how they are audited, how they are presented, the local government bodies in charge of those funds for your country. Because the fund tends to be 3, 4, 5 million euros. But then when we divide it by 30 plus countries nowadays in the European Union, peanuts is what streams down to a lot of places. However, look at it on how it can be done. The other thing is not just fundings within European unions and your local government, but associations. The same way via a competition, any sort, even within the suppliers. And I know when you mentioned Amadeus as my previous employer, they were very, very due diligent on also understanding any funding that used to take place globally so they could advise local hotels, local partners and say, you are aware this funding is available in your country. It's then down to you to obviously go in and do all the boring stuff of completing 1,000 forms and being assessed. But it gives you that. I think it's your responsibility as a hotelier, as a manager, as an owner to know of all of these. Because some of them are loans, some are funds, some are assistances, and some got some repercussions. So I think it's always good to be due diligent on those.
Let's keep a little bit this discussion on budget, because you mentioned something that was really important before, the hidden costs of the technology, that should be fully transparent. But not only sometimes it's missing that information of some integration here, maybe some training there that are not including in the price, but there is also the training of your staff, there is also the maintenance or anything. So what are the hidden costs that you observe with new technology implementation that's not only from the vendor, but also from the hotels?
So there's two things. I totally agree, and I think this is an excellent point to mention. I don't call them hidden costs. I actually call them costs that should be budgeted for everything you do as an exerciser, as an operator. It's great to say implementation, training costs, they're hidden costs. They shouldn't be, because any hotel can't just arrive. Hotels need to buy a whole piece of software that's not out of the box. It needs to be personalized, SAP, integrations. Well, those red crosses everywhere would fly out, because obviously one supplier charges this. I can't tell you what your PMS provider charges you at the hotel next door, because you guys got different relationships. But however, I can list those for you to go and research those as a supplier, if I'm the supplier, and those should be listed. Training and implementation, it's not up to me to decide if it should be online or on site. You're the hotel, the offering should be there. Like I mentioned at the beginning, give me any guest room attendant that can sit still for more than 10 seconds on the laptop, we'll all be happy, right? And that's one of the things in operational software as an example. There is a cost that many don't mention and don't accommodate for. Maintenance and so on, software has gone cloud, let's be honest. So that, slightly easier for maintenance, you pay a subscription, should be included in there. Look at your support, what's included, not included. And that's not just the software you're buying, but like you rightly so, Maurice, you mentioned, integrations and other software. How does that impact? Last but not least, continuation of development. Human capital. The human capital aspect of any software is something that's missed, both from an internal training, and unfortunately we're working in an industry that changes and is so volatile, because you can have a staff today that's trained, tomorrow he's gone somewhere else or she's gone somewhere else, and you'll have to train someone on their spot, and that means that you're not going to bring the software provider back. However, make sure that you've got all of the latest material, because the likelihood is, being a subscription software nowadays, there'll be updates and so on. Have you ensured that customer support from that particular provider you bought software from is linked to your human resources, your people and culture manager, to ensure they keep on feeding the latest manuals, because that is an SOP that's normally broken. Hence the reason we hear about Jumeirah Academy, Hilton management courses and so on. We need to ensure that that human capital there, and I mean the human resources aspect of it, is part of that continuation aspect. That's a cost that needs to be accommodated. We can't just expect someone to be trained on Opera Fidelia's version and is now Opera on cloud. That's unfortunately is happening, and that needs to stop.
When it comes to a cost of training as well, I've noticed that some hoteliers just don't take in consideration that if their managers or their employees are at training, someone else may have to be at the desk, and they are not counting that doubling the staff on the. Have you noticed that as well? It's just happened to the companies that I work with. No, it's to solve that problem.
If I had the formula to solve that problem, I'll be a very, very fortunate, possibly rich guy, to be fair with you. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, you and I will be having this conversation in the Bahamas somewhere, the two of us. I think we deserve it. So.
Maybe one day.
But you have to think about two things here. In the past, yes, you could double the staff. Now you can't. However, you need to work with the suppliers. The suppliers can't dictate, I can only do training on this. Yes, there is a match, and you have to write, I've got availability on these weeks are better, and so on. There's a lot of planning and preparation. The same way you prepare the stakeholders' presentation that you want to bring in this new software kit, you need to also ensure that you prepare straight away. You drive engagement, i.e. drop some stuff on the canteen to people to know that that training is going to be, so they're motivated. Make people accountable, and work with your teams. How can we support the teams? Hotels are already running on skeleton at the moment. So when a trainer comes in, it's going to be even harder to do so. But the worst thing I'm seeing at the moment is the fact that hoteliers are using this rostering, but then allowing staff to just leave a training or not attend the training. And I had recently a case just before I started my own consultancy company where we were expecting 25 people to attend the training, 2 attended.
Oh God.
So the impact of that cost, unfortunately, it just goes to waste, because the hotel flew someone over, the trainer was there sitting in a meeting room waiting for these people to arrive, chasing only to people, I'll just leave it as a manual, we'll do it afterwards. Will that software ever be a success? No. And I think nowadays, in the past, there's already a lot of work for training. Nowadays, it's even harder to do so. And I think that preparation needs to be key. I'm going to also say this, and I think some suppliers or most will hate me for saying it. And I say hate, I know it's a strong word, but it's the truth. In the past, we could get away as suppliers training 9 till 5, and the trainer could go for a walk on the beach, for work in Prague, Budapest, Vienna in the evening and learn the new cities. We're a 24/7 industry. It might be easier for me to get 20 people after hours. If that's the case, suppliers need to also address that, and I think that needs to change. However, we're going to go back to a question and a point that you mentioned earlier, which is the budget-conscious industry that we work in. The online training module is great for all students. We have about 4% of our employees are desk-bound. The rest of them are not. So how can we expect them to be at desk learning videos or on a gamification app? We have to realize that an operations person possibly has 2 jobs and goes home to take care of a family. And we're expecting them to open an app. Great tools for education, I agree. Are they great tools for our industry, however? And I think we need to do that research. It's not me. I don't have those answers. I wish I did, because, again, then I'll be the guy in the Bahamas doing the call. And I think that's one of the things we have to address. Also, the same way if you're due diligence choosing a piece of software for your hotel, you should be due diligence really thinking, am I going to cut corners at the end of it by doing online training to be cheaper? Is it cheaper now and more expensive in the long run because I'm going to have to do a lot more training and everything down the road? So think about all of those steps. And I think those things are points, mentioned, questions, however way we want to phrase it. I say things as I'm from South London, I guess is more of a colloquial phrases. Those are all the key points that we need to ensure that we answer and make those decisions, because it may be better to pay for training today and pay for refresher training in 6 months and put it part or red of your CapEx, instead of I'm going to do this online and just watch a couple of videos. Is that how you want your guests to be handled, by you watching a couple of videos? That's the question I would ask.
Good questions, and I hope that not many vendors are hating you right now, and then we can try to reverse when it comes to return on the investment, because you mentioned that the return on investment is not only financial, right? There are other elements that are part of this ROI. So what can a manager justify the ROI to the stakeholders?
I think to start with is, again, go back to the initial question, the objective. Why do I need this piece of software? Do I have something in my tech stack that already does part of elements and I need to complement it? Is it a lack of team members that I need to cover by using software, automating some processes to release some time back to the short-staffed situation I have in my property, so then it allows human interaction with the guest? Are the guest pain points being language barriers and so on, that I can drive better communication through a multilingual messaging app? The ROI and the monetary ROI will come at the end with the incremental sales, because then you've got time to drive those incremental sales instead of rushing your service constantly. So I think it all depends on the type of software. There are software which are clear and monetary positive ROI impacts. Others, I think, is a blend. And then last, maybe an operational efficiency that you want to drive, maybe clearing all the backlog of complaints you have on TripAdvisor. And I've been there hand on heart with hotel in that case, where it wasn't about the money, it was literally assisting a process that we could not deliver and we're not human capable to do it, so we had to bring in a piece of software. So that's what you need to really address. What becomes today as a non-monetary ROI, if it cleans up and helps eradicate those mistakes, it becomes a positive ROI. Because let's be honest, you and I have got similar operational background. How many breakfasts do we sign every morning by complaints that maybe an automation could clear? That is a monetary ROI, but becomes or starts as an efficiency issue that we need to drive. So that's where we need to be realistic.
When we move a little bit away then from budgeting and purchasing part, and we come to the installation part, right? So now we purchase this, we got it through it, and we need to install. And this is sometimes very disruptive, right?
Yes.
And so how disruptive will be that implementation? I know that depends on the software, depends on what you're doing, how disruptive it is, and how can we decrease that pain point?
Preparation. From the moment you start talking to a supplier, start looking to other software providers that will also need to be integrated to that new software. An integration, an interface for that integration needs to be prepared, needs to be live, needs to be tested. So therefore start that work. Use your relationships. We are in a relationship industry. We are humans. So therefore work with your suppliers, your PMS provider, your accountancy, your CRM, wherever it may be. Start working on those. The more preparation you do in advance, the easier it is for you. And do not rush it. If there is an issue, if there is a delay, put the handbrakes on it. At the end of the day, you would not want to serve a bad piece of meat or a bad piece of fish or a bad meal, wherever it may be, to a guest. So why rush something that will go and help that guest? And same thing. By preparing accordingly, you can then alleviate, not eradicate, but alleviate some of the disruption. Because the last thing you want is train your staff in the dummy software that's not gonna mirror the exact screens even of that software that they will need to use every day of their lives. So you're wasting money throughout. From delaying a process, bringing in a trainer, a period that software is not ready for implementation, make sure that you're happy for that implementation and then go ahead and go live. And then choose the right training methods. I don't know your staff, you don't know my staff. So why should you advise me on how I should implement the software? Take my advice and work with me, and let's come to a mutual agreement solution. Being the language translator, being wherever it may be, bringing in laptops or software that I may need to ensure, or hardware that I need to deliver that as well. I don't know your staff, so I should never claim as a software provider that I know best on how to implement a software in your hotel. Biggest mistake that I would ever do, as an example.
I love that, because I was thinking about how about the training. We discussed a lot about training already, implementation, and what type of training the vendors should provide, if it's online or on place and sign, right? I've been in an experience that one PMS of a hotel I was working with, they chose the PMS and it wasn't the right PMS for that particular group, right? So it was a 3-month training, and basically they tried with 3 hotels first, keeping other 5 hotels with different PMS. So it was a very big mess between everything that was happening. Of course, the staff didn't like it, the changes, but the integrations were not right. And in the end, after 6 months, they canceled the contract, just put money in the garbage. It went back to the old PMS that wasn't great to start off, right? And I saw a lot of the training problem there. Was a lot of lack of support and the transparency that you've been saying a lot here. But what else besides online and in place? How can the vendors really support the evolution of the staff into the technology that they are buying?
Again, from day one, it comes to that preparation. So I go back to my Amadeus days. A very well-known group in the UAE. I implemented the last couple of properties in the UK for them. As soon as we start talking to your operational team about the software, I provided them with about 10 different posters, a bit like now we do a social media calendar for our companies. And I think Schulering does a great job posting here and there and everywhere. The same thing, in the back of us in the canteen, the staff started engaging. The icons, the logos of the software, what the software does. Would you like to see this? How do you deal with your room cleaning now? How do you report your faults now? How do you communicate with engineering? By the time we arrived to implement the software, they'd been through that journey visually already with us. And we had QR codes that we knew they were scanning and so on. So there was a lot of things. As a provider, if you want any hotel to use your software, you need to support that. And a lot of these materials are your marketing materials. You don't have to recreate anything or spend more money doing so. You need to blow it up and give it to someone to print in the back of house, right? But it's bringing that team in. Bring them in from day one. Don't just speak to the buyer before you implement the software. So you buy a PMS for your properties now. I want to speak to your head of reservations, to your financial team, on the operations team. Everyone who gets touched by that software. Your front desk. If I just speak to you, the likelihood is you are complacent because you see it every day. But each of those individual groups have got different points that need to be addressed. As soon as I have that information, I should provide you with a training schedule. Why? Because that then will take you to the question you mentioned earlier about how can you allocate the staff and double up, or no need to, subject to what time of the day I can do the training, to address the different points. Because some don't want to do a reporting, they don't really care, they don't need it. Others just want to do the data entering, others just want to do the check-ins, whatever it may be. So why don't engage accordingly with the different groups? Because if I just do the same training for everyone, general managers 2 minutes, I get my PA to print the report I need for the morning meeting. Check in, I don't have the time, I need to go because I need to pick my son up as soon as I finish my morning shift, and so on. So therefore, we need to engage with these different groups of suppliers. And that's part of what consultants should be doing as well. And that's why my company and why I'm focused as well as the two journeys, not just the guest journey, but the employee journey. It's very much at the heart of this.
And so if now we would think about like a hotel that needs to upgrade something, it's like they're lagging behind, right? But they need to make a crucial decision here. Right? Then I either investing on a guest-facing technology or operational efficiency technology. Which one they should go with and why?
I'm going to say this differently. Why should they compromise in the first place? Because if you got two pieces of string to lift the box. If you just pull on one side, what happens to the box? It tips. The idea is you work together to bring the software that can drive both and the right upgrade. The reason for this, I say with two things. There's great software that does this guest messaging out there. Is it easy to use? So operationally, it won't be. You need to think of what's good for you, what you need to solve as a problem. And the problem means overall, not just a problem for one group of people. Because the last thing you want to do is create silos in already a divisive industry. And let's be honest, I know you work at properties, I worked at properties, you work. The best places if there's silos in any hotel group, walk into their canteens and see who's eating together. If they all eat together, or if they're in groups everywhere. Point two. The other thing is, are you upgrading for the sake of upgrading? And yes, you need to upgrade. Will that upgrade impact any other area of the business? You're upgrading this piece of software here, which is for guest-facing and operational efficiency. Will it impact the back-of-house software? Will it impact the PMS and so on like that? What are you really trying to do? Make sure that the upgrade does not cause any unnecessary disruptions. Does not come in and bring in wonderful new software that doesn't work with antiquated stack. That's me. I say we've compromised in a lot of things, but there's things you can't compromise because it'll cause you more damage, human and non-human, than good in the long run.
So that's been a class. I'm learning, I'm taking notes here, but I hope that our audience is taking notes too. And we like here to think about the future, right? Like if you can see, I have Back to the Future, new Matrix here behind me because I'm a little bit of a dreamer, as my wife likes to say. Not always in the good way. But if we could think about the future when it comes to technology, first question, for you, what's the next big thing coming to the hotel world?
To everyone who's working on AI in our industry to make it work correctly. And I say this for a reason. AI is everywhere in our industry at the moment. Has it really done anything that we can say, wow, everyone stood back? We're focusing, primary focus have been revenue, finance, accounting, of course, obvious reasons. Money speaks. It's humans who smile. We need to think about operations. We all cry on LinkedIn, on all the social media, between friends. I don't have this stuff. We don't have that. The humans are at the core of our industry. We need to get AI to help them. As soon as we do that, the rest of it will kick in. The revenue, the incremental revenue, the finance will come in. I appreciate that. Let's do that, but not lose the true. We haven't yet unleashed the true potential of AI in our operations, in my opinion. There's companies touched there. There's some wonderful new tools out there. You and I, from the day we met, we've been speaking about individuals who are doing some wonderful things on AI at the moment. I think as soon as you have that, you then have come to the other 50% of the future that really is going to come into the hotel world in technology. And there's a wonderful person who's also recently has put me on his podcast, the wellness aspect of our industry. The use of wellness and really address, because there's one thing, you go to a hotel to have an experience now and so on, but the wellness has not really been touched. The wellness has been a box room with a couple of running machines and so on. There's so much more that our industry should be doing. But I think the true potential of AI and wellness together in our industry, that's going to be where technology is going to be driven and where we're going to see different improvements, in my opinion.
Are you talking about Adam Mogolonsky?
We are talking about Adam in his greatest voice. I've revolutionized my breakfast just because of him, so he'll be proud to hear that. And it's unrecorded now, so
that's awesome. We just recorded our podcast a couple weeks ago, so that's coming. That's coming. It's in the oven. So the last question, because we are over time actually, but the last question here, because this is something that I would like to hear from you, because you've been teaching us so much here. So if you could travel 10 years in the future and actually stay in a hotel there, what would be your experience?
Do you know something? What everyone's been dreaming of, the true personalized experience. We talk about data, we talk about guest preferences, we talk about guest journey. Every human being has so much free data out there at the moment. I love exercising. I'm a member of, I'm going to give a little push to an exercise tool that I've been using from when they were originally created, Freeletics. I can exercise anywhere, I traveled around, so therefore it was the easiest way for me to do that. And I love their routines. I'm actually, even this evening, I'm joining a group of friends for that. I'm also 100% plant-based. So why should I switch on my TV in my hotel room and have a juicy burger there if my Instagram profile, if my LinkedIn comments on is all about plant-based? There's a lot of free data that we're not using in our industry that's up there at the moment. And I think there should be providers, and I'm talking about the big fish. So if Amadeus, you're listening, and my former CEO and colleagues, gather this data, use it for the hospitality industry. Because I've put it out there, so therefore there's already consent that I've given to that platform to publish my 100% plant-based meal, my Freeletics score, because obviously I want to impress my friends, and we're all competitive, and we are all competitive in hospitality. So bring that in as well, because there is data out there. We say we don't know our guests. Have we researched our guests? That's the question we need to be asking. So that's the 10 years. Facilities and buildings, I don't mind. Old, new, great. That's the experience of it all. But the true experience is, right at the back of half, former Capella, or still Capella property, I'm not sure. They were using and downloading the LinkedIn profile photos of guests years ago already. They were doing this kind of scraping manually. We should be doing this now automatically with the tools that we provide. We have access to the cloud, obviously, or some clouds. We are providing software to the hotels. So why not? The social media platforms are sitting on the same cloud. They want to be part of the travel industry more than so. Open TikTok, LinkedIn, of course, that we interact regularly, Instagram, X, not Twitter anymore, I apologize to Elon Musk. But all of these want to be part. They showcase all these wonderful experiences. Like, you've been to Prague, you missed on this. You've been to Vienna, you missed on that. Hold on a minute. I posted in hashtag Vienna that I was there on plant-based. Why am I giving a schnitzel? This wasn't what I wanted. So therefore, if I posted what I enjoyed, so therefore, and I really believe that there is that.
Yeah, we had a discussion one day, and I said like if there is a compliance problem, like authorization of using data problem, why are not hotels using social media to check in, right? Check in with Facebook, check in with Instagram, and then getting that allowance of data coming directly from it.
100%. How many times if you logged onto a platform of any shape or form and goes, Google, cool, use Gmail, done that already. So therefore, if I authorize that as a user, and I'm putting that in my platform, or my social media profile is public, linked to the same email that I've booked my reservation, that I'm part of your loyalty program. And in fact, a lot of the times, the loyalty programs have your social media profiles already on them anyway, as soon as you start completing the data. Why do you want them for if you're not using the data that I'm giving you access to? So I say this, and this is something I say to my 20-year-old son. You suffer from lasinitis. Our industry's got to suffer from lasinitis and be proactive on this, because I think we're such a human industry. The data's out there. Let's use it and let's make it really what it should be. Hospitality.
100%. With this one, I'll wrap it up here, Custodio. That was an awesome conversation. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. That's so much here to use. Custodio, how can our audience contact you besides dropping into Schulering platform, because you have a beautiful profile there, but how can else our audience contact you with?
Find me on LinkedIn with my name. There's not that many people, obviously, with my name. I'm fortunate. I blame my parents originally for it, but now I'm grateful they gave me this name because it's unique and they can find me. I've got my company website, Ep.85.mgt.com. Contact page there. You find out what we do. And of course, always happy for a chat. My contact details are there. A lot of people in the industry have always helped me, so I'm always happy to help others, and that's how we connected with mutual friends as well. So reach me via my company website is the best way, I would say.
Custodio, that was a pleasure to talk to you. I'll put all your links down there and some of the apps that you refer as well. I'll try to find and put the links out there to help our audience. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your class here, and I'm looking forward to connect with you again.
Definitely. Take care. Have a good day. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and Thank you for everyone for listening as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Schulering. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.